Good afternoon, everybody. This is Darren Dunlap from the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber. I am so honored today to have the Executive Director of Audubon Dakota, Marshall Johnson, joining us today. Marshall, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine, Darren. It's great to be with you.
Well, great. In this crazy time where families are wondering about what to do with their time and how to get some exercise and all of that, I just naturally thought of you and Audubon Dakota. Uh, Last fall, we, as a chamber group, were able to come out and were given a guided tour of your Forest River project. So, Marshall, if you would please give us an explanation of what Audubon Dakota is and what is your mission?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not the highway in Germany. I will say that. All right. We are a nonprofit, and our mission, and we've been around since 1905. And our mission is to protect the places that birds need today and tomorrow. And while birds are the prism through which we view our work, birds really just are an indicator of the places and the people that we must work with, and we have the pleasure of working with to protect nature, to advance nature, and to connect people to nature. And we've been around for more than 115 years now, and we were started by a group of ladies and people like Teddy Roosevelt, who's joined me here, our 26th president and North Dakota rancher at one point. Teddy Roosevelt was also an acclaimed ornithologist who really supported the Audubon Society in its early stages, and just again a lover of nature. So our mission and Teddy Roosevelt's legacy is pretty well connected over the years, and that's what we do. We really target. We're here as the voice of birds, but that really is more a byproduct of going to the communities and working with the people that can make a difference for birds and for Mother Nature.
As I'd mentioned before, Marshall, you and your team were so gracious in giving us a guided tour last year of one of your projects. So I was very interested to find out that you guys are working in some of the areas that were flood mitigation buyouts and some neighborhoods, and they're being repurposed. Now, first of all, if you could explain a little bit about that, and then also tell me a little bit about how did Audubon Dakota get involved in that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kind of start from the beginning there. It was an idea that a group of us had, Audubon staff here, the Fargo Park District under Roger Gress's leadership and Dave Leaker, Clay Whittlesley. It started probably 7 or 8 years ago when we were in the shadows of a pretty, difficult flood season. And we knew that, this land would be eventually coming into local ownership through the park district. And then, what do you do with that? Because there's some burdens there to the local park district and city in terms of management. And so Audubon, we stepped up and created this vision around the Urban Woods and Prairies Initiative. And that was really an innovative approach to bringing nature into what is the Northern Great Plains fastest growing community. So make the city kind of add an additional amenity for visitors and residents of Fargo Moorhead, and answer a question or a problem that our local agencies and municipalities were having around what do we do with 1,500 new acres to manage. And so Audubon, our supporters, our staff, we stepped up to make those investments in these parks, restore these parks to native prairie and native floodplain forests, so that it'd be great for wildlife. It would restore some of those ecosystem services to our community, such as flood resiliency in these places, wildlife habitat, et cetera, but also create an amenity for residents to enjoy so that nature was never more than a short jog, a short hike, or a short car drive away from your home.
Well, I've only had the good fortune of going to one, which is Forest River, which ironically is the little town in North Dakota that I was born. And I'm glad you have Teddy there because when I was in third grade, back when I used to read, I actually did a book report on Teddy Roosevelt. So he's always been one of my favorites. So thank you for including him with us today. Um,
Absolutely.
Marshall, so when you're talking about this, so how many urban parks have been created, and what kind of wildlife and amenities do each of these parks have?
Yeah, absolutely. Since 2014, we've been able to create 23 new nature parks here in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And they range in size and scope from 6-acre Unicorn Park along 7th Avenue North to 150-acre Oakport Prairie in North Moorhead, Oakport Township. So they really range. It's about 24 river miles that the sites lie alongside of. And the amenities, it really, every place you can hike, every one of these locations are open to the public. So you can hike, you can bird. Some of the sites actually have managed hiking trails during the winter, such as cross-country trails, hiking trails like at Forest River. If you go on our website dk.audubon.org, you go to Urban Woods and Prairies, and you can kind of see a map there of all of the sites. You can also go to the Convention Visitors Bureau website, and the sites are there as well. So it really depends on the site that you visit. If you go to Forest River, there's also a kayak and canoe launch that we installed there in partnership with Sanford Health. There are trails along many of the sites. We're always looking to add new managed crushed gravel trails, hiking and birding trails. So it really depends on what site you go to. The average site is about just a little bit smaller than Forest River. Forest River is about 62 acres, and I'd say the average site is about 40 or 50 acres.
Hmm.
And what's really special is when you go to these sites, you're really, there are places along the river you go to, and I often ask folks that we bring out to these sites, and I think I asked you and your group this question: do you know that you're standing within the largest city in the Northern Great Plains? And you don't, because all you can hear is the wildlife, the running river, and really just those peaceful nature sounds. And that was what we wanted to create it all those years ago when we started this initiative.
Well, Marshall, kudos to you and your team. It's you were exactly right. It seemed like we were in the middle of the woods in northern Minnesota, as opposed to being in the southern part of Fargo. Uh, I know that now. Are all of your trails family friendly? I know that you talked a little bit about maybe like team building for companies. If they're looking for like an afternoon outing or something, it's a good opportunity for them to maybe come out. But so other than families and maybe employees, are there other groups that can participate and enjoy this space?
Yeah, and I would break it down as into kind of active and passive use. Some of our active use, we take corporate groups out all the time to do pollinator garden plantings, team building workshops, basically getting the team out. Maybe it's planting a pollinator garden or removing some invasive buckthorn along the river in some of these forested areas. It's a great team building exercise for small or medium or even large corporate groups. I remember years ago we were out with Mark Nisbet and the Excel Energy Group, and we probably had 30 or 40 volunteers that day, and they also brought their families. and their kids were able to build wood duck boxes. Well, those wood duck boxes are still out there. And I think that's really special that when you have these groups out and they can improve the habitat, improve the parks for future visitors, they can come back over and over again and see the fruits of their labor. But also passive use, it's a great time right now where people are cooped up in their homes looking for things to do. If a corporation or a local company wants to add this as a resource to their website or to their communications with their staffs and their employees, we'd be more than willing and welcoming of helping put those communications together so people can know that this asset is there, these amenities exist, and they're open to local residents.
It was interesting when I called to set up this meeting with you, Marshall. I was asking you because my wife and I have backyard feeders, and we've got this some sort of I'm not sure, it's some kind of a raptor-ish bird that I was kind of describing to you, and you tell me it's a merlin. You're pretty sure it's a merlin, but I've
Pretty
never
sure.
gotten a picture of it. But so tell me, I know that there's a lot of people who do backyard birding. And I know that that's kind of the main impetus for Audubon Dakota. But is backyard birding, is that something that just about anybody can do in this region?
Pretty much. Whether you live in a high rise or an apartment building and you've got a little, 4x6 stoop or balcony, or you live in a home here, you can do backyard birding. You can turn your backyard, whatever it may be, into a bird and butterfly and bee friendly habitat and enjoy what comes into that. That's one of the, I know it's spring when I can hear the birds calling outside of my house. And even if it wakes me up, it's such a pleasant sound to wake up to. I live North Fargo near Elzagle, and there's so many birds that are moving through this area. And I know it's spring when I can hear those sounds. And you can have that as well, whether it's planting native flowers or native grasses. You do these little things that really don't cost a whole lot of money, and you can have that habitat in your backyard. And it also is helpful with reducing the amount of maybe maintenance that you have to do on your backyard. Typically, native prairies, just a native wildflowers and that type of habitat is just easier to maintain because those plants are resilient to this atmosphere here in the northern Great Plains.
Well, I appreciate that. And I love all the birds that we have in our neighborhood, except as I told you, we got them dang turkeys that come through and man, oh man, those things are messy. So if you've got any ideas about that, I'll certainly be open to any sort of suggestions that you may have, Marshall. But Marshall, I just want to thank you. It was one of the most enjoyable field trips that our chamber has ever gone at, going out and having your team take such good care of us and show us around just one of the many sites that you've got around these communities. So I'm very glad to hear that things are going well. I can't wait to see some of the other areas, and I'm glad that we had this opportunity to get the word out about a wonderful treasure these are in our community and the gems that they serve for us. So whether it's you're getting together a group of employees, whether it's a group of friends, or you want to get your kids out, you're sick of them in the house, bring them on out, get them the opportunity to go out and see some of these beautiful places that have been reclaimed. And so, Marshall, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce of Fargo-Moorhead, West Fargo, our community, thank you so much for the work that you guys put in, making our place a better place to live. And I cannot wait to hear what some of the new projects are on deck for Audubon Dakota.
Thank you, Darren. I really appreciate all that the chamber does. I think back to the GoFar 2030 planning process, and when you look at the community input into that, a lot of what the community wanted was more access to nature, and that makes Fargo Moorhead a better landscape for businesses that want to move here, families that want to move here. So being a small part of making Fargo-Moorhead more attractive to business and growth, it really has been special to be a part of that. So thank you.
Well, Marshall, absolutely. You guys are definitely making Fargo-Moorhead and West Fargo a better community. So thank you for all the work you do. And I look forward to seeing you very soon, my friend.
Thank you.